Hello, my name is Yvonne from JK Lifestyles with Yvonne, and today Miss Deborah Cooper is joining us. Hi, how you doing?
Fine.
Okay. Miss Cooper is a relationship dating coach. She gives advice about dating, life, and relationships. She's been doing this since 1992, and she has her own YouTube channel. It's called Deborahsm.
Debster.
I said it wrong.
That's okay.
Say it one more time.
It's Debsterism. It's Debsterism.
Okay. Well, I'm just glad you came on today. I love it. This is about like the third or fourth time we done met, and I just
Uh-huh.
have a ball each
I mean,
time.
official meeting, but
Yes,
there are
yes,
girl talk days, and those aren't recorded.
yes, exactly. Okay. The first question I want to ask you is, why does a man ghost a woman instead of telling her that the relationship is over?
Usually, and of course, there's always going to be exceptions. So I don't want to say, "Well, that wasn't what happened to me." Uh, Usually, the guy does a cost benefit analysis, and he looks at what it's going to cost him to be, to tell you to your face or over the phone or whatever, and have to deal with all your emotions about it and begging and whining versus just dipping out. So usually the dip out is the preferred method. So they just go. I can't even complain about it because I've done that myself. You just think about that person because you've been dealing with them for some time, months, years, sometimes years, or at least a few weeks, and you kind of get a handle on how they handle feelings of rejection or emotional conflict. And you sit there and you be like, so you determine that it's just not going to be a good time. It's not going to be anything that you're interested in. And people say, but they owe me, they should get, no, they don't. The fact that they don't want to be bothered with you anymore eliminates all obligations to be nice to you and to be concerned about your feelings about them leaving. So that's the part I think a lot of women don't get. They're like, well, but we were together. We should have all this time. He should respect me more.
Mhm.
It doesn't have anything to do with that. It has to do with not want to hear you whine or beg or say, without change, give me another chance, all that kind of stuff. They don't want to be bothered. They're done.
Let's work on it.
Yeah, all that. All that. You know how people do. So they just decide they're done. And so they don't really care. They're not trying to worry about how you feel about it. They don't want to discuss it. They don't want to hear, even deal with your emotional outbursts about it. They're just gone.
Okay. The next question I want to ask you is, how will a person or woman be clear about the type of relationship she has with a man? How will it be defined? Like, sometimes some people go with someone for a long time, and maybe the guy spends the night, you go out on you've been involved for a while, but he never like defines what your role is to him. Whether you're a girlfriend, a friend with benefits, um, wife to be material.
Um, I see what you're saying because that's why I was looking confused. Um, I think that is for the woman to determine. If you and I don't mean it in a negative way. What I mean is if you have a situation that's not defined and you don't really know where you stand with this man emotionally, then why would you be doing all that extra stuff? I mean, if you're performing in his relationship like a girlfriend, fiance, all this kind of stuff, and you don't feel like you guys haven't had that discussion, you don't have that agreement, why are you doing it? I think that's where a woman should start, asking herself, why why are you doing all this stuff and you don't even know what you are to this guy? So that I think is where a lot of confusion starts because the women feel like, well, but we put all this time in, he treats me like I'm his girlfriend. Well, that's fine, but you're a grown person now. Open your mouth and have the conversation. I mean, what is this? And I would never tell a guy, no, now I always advise women not to put it in the guy's hands. So you don't go to him and say, well, what are we? What are we doing? You tell him what you want and when you want it by, and then you ask him if that's something that he's interested in. So he can say yes or no. And then you already know if it's, you want to hang around or escalate what you do and, your involvement with him. But everybody should have a choice. It should be a choice on each side, which his expectations for quote girlfriend as well as yours, and then what the responsibilities are of that role. And I think that's a step a lot of people don't talk about. So there people have unexpressed expectations on each side, and then they get upset when they don't get met. So open your mouth, you big girl now, talk. You know.
Um, the next thing I want to ask you, what can a person consider as disrespectful in a relationship?
Oh my God, to go that list now, we can have a whole 16 hours live stream on just that one thing. Well, let's narrow it down. Like, what part of a relationship? Giving you like tighter parameters, because I mean, the relationship is from the first day you meet them to. I mean, it's
Well, I think when well, when you start getting intimate with the person, because I think expectations change when that happens. Hmm.
that's true. Well, um, one thing that comes up a lot is woman wants to, the guy to use protection. Use that, and he says
Hmm.
he don't want to, or worse yet, they take it off without asking you. You start off with it on, and then somehow it ends up off. So you've been exposed to, um, unprotected activities. That is a key sign of disrespect. When you say they want to do some kind of intimate act that you don't want to do, you're not comfortable with it, you think it's going to hurt, it's something weird, you're not, it's just not anything that you're interested in, and they keep insisting anyway after you've already said no, that's a sign of disrespect. And these things, was reading a survey the other day, about choking. This seemed to be a new thing. Everybody, dudes want to be choking women, and I was horrified to see that the scientists discovered that a lot of these young women get brain damage from that because they keep getting repeatedly deprived of oxygen for periods of time. So the guys are doing it because they're watching those freaky movies and they want to do what they did in the movies. These girls are allowing it. I guess in some cases they're not, it just happens. But in any event, the young ladies are suffering permanent brain damage. So there's so many risks here and so many ways to be disrespected. um, I have a whole video series on it on my channel because it's just so many things. Even stuff as simple as you talking about something that's exciting to you, something that you like to do, like a hobby, an interest, something like that, a job you want to try for something, and he puts it down and makes you feel small or stupid for even thinking like that. Well, nobody else thinks like that, and what's wrong with you? You dumb, and all these kind of things that people say in offhand ways. But every time they do those kind of things, you're excited, you feel proud of it, and they just burst your balloon over and over and over. Those are some of the main ways that women tolerate disrespect.
I suppose someone knows that you like them and then they make a point of making sure that you see them with someone else. They make sure they go out of their way so you can see them with another person. I think that's disrespectful too.
Yeah, well, it could be, but if you like, it depends on what this you like them kind of thing. Have you guys been dealing with each other, or you just like the person and they haven't really addressed it. You know what I mean? There's different ways. Like
That's
how
true.
young, like teenage girls will have a crush on a guy, and they'll tell all their friends, "Oh, I like so and so," and then she sees him with another guy. Well, they never talk like that. They never dated. They were never an item. So for him to be with somebody else, knowing you, I mean, you like him, but that doesn't mean he knows that. I mean, he doesn't like you back. So in a situation like that, I wouldn't say that's disrespect. That's just life. I mean, we can like whoever we want to, but they're not obligated to like us back.
Well, me, I'm all over the place. So the next question I want to ask, and I got the idea from looking at your website. What do you do if you have a friend that copies everything you do or wear?
Oh my God. Oh, that question. Oh, oh, like that movie, Single White Female. Personally, I mean, at some point, like young girls, they like that. They like to dress
Hmm.
like their twins and stuff. They wear the same outfits and the same. I mean, if it's by agreement, that's one thing, or if it's they to agree but to do it sometimes. But if you're trying to be a unique individual, you're doing your own thing, and this person imitates you without your consent, without your participation, and they do every single thing that you do, then I would say that you need to reevaluate that friendship because there's something wrong with that person, that their sense of self is so undefined that they're trying to, replicate you in
Hmm.
themselves. So I that would be scary to me. That would be frightening. Like if my daughter had a friend like that, I'd be like, oh no, something wrong with this girl. But yeah, I mean, I just reevaluate that friendship, and I would suggest that, if that's happening, that the person just take a step back for sure. Cut ties with that person because there's something wrong there.
Hmm. Okay. I wanted to, another question I was going to ask you is that, you know how some people they say, oh, John and I, we've been together for 8 years. And in 8 years, you figure that John would have wanted to marry you or something. Why would a person hang in there that long without any type of commitment? And why would a person do that to a person if they know that the person they're involved in wants more?
Well, that's again, that's putting responsibility for your life and your choices for yourself on someone else. That's not how that should go. If you
Mm-hmm.
want to be married and you're with someone who keeps putting it off, dancing around it, saying, well, I'm not ready yet, and all this kind of stuff, but that's not what you want, then I mean, at what point do you take responsibility for yourself? If you want to be married, then you leave that behind and you go get married to somebody else. That's how
Mm-hmm.
that works. So, I mean, I mean, you have to give it some time. I mean, depending on the situation, it might be a couple of years. Like people are finishing up school, they're trying to get established in their career. They don't really have no money. All they have is student loans and a little part-time job or something like that. Well, you might want to put off marriage for a few years because you're not really ready. But, you're mature adults, you got that steady paycheck, you got your own place, you got your car, you're paying your taxes, all this kind of stuff, and yet you're still with the person for 5, 7, 10 years, having children with them, buying homes with them, but you keep saying you want to be the wife. Why are you doing that? It's what we said at the beginning. If you're performing in a role that you don't have, why are you doing that to yourself? Why are you acting like the man's wife and giving him all the wife privileges and you're not the wife? Why are you acting like you're the girlfriend and giving him all that access to you, all your free time, all that commitment, everything else, and you don't have the title or nor the commitment from him? Why do women do that? I do not. All these years I've been doing this, all these decades, I still don't have an answer to that. The closest I can come is that they have some kind of hope that they can, by their performance, earn this commitment. That never works. Men either love you and they want to be with you right off the bat or they don't.
Mm-hmm. No, I've been seeing some things about this particular topic. It seems like women, young girls, or whatever, will let someone they love or move into their home. Is that something that you advise?
Heck
Or
no.
how do you feel about that?
I hate that. I don't think women should live with men anyway unless, your husband or wife or you too old and it's gonna mess up your social security.
Mhm.
Other than that, I don't think it's a good idea. Um, Especially if you own a home or you have a condo, whatever, and the guy moves in with you. You have totally flipped the script of this relationship right immediately. Now you're the provider. You're the provider now.
Mhm.
So things just get kind of confusing, especially when the girl says, "Well, I want him to help pay half the mortgage." You really are, yeah. So now when you sell your house, you're gonna have to give him some money. That's stupid, because he's contributed to it.
But even if he's living there, a person would have to pay rent no matter what. So
Well,
even
then
if
you
he's
set up a rental agreement and make yourself the landlord.
okay.
You don't just let the boyfriend move in on the strength of, well, we gonna live together and I love him. No, 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 no. You have his behind her sign a rental agreement just like anybody else, and that clearly defines why he's there and what he's doing when he's there and where his money is going. But really, they would have to pay rent. But my dad suggested that if I ever just got stupid enough to do something like that, he said you make him buy all the groceries, pay the water bill and the electricity bill, put gas in the car, those kind of things, because those kind of things, they're expendable, they're gone and he
Mhm.
can't get it back when he decides to leave. Well, we ate that food, you ran that water, you burned them lights, you used that toilet paper and you drove that car. So that was his suggestion. Make him pay those things, which in some environments, some states, it may be more than the housing costs because the heating in the wintertime and running AC in the summertime, it's not that much, it's not that bad here in the Bay Area, but in some states, that may be equivalent or even more than what you're paying for the mortgage.
You know, the thing that really concerns me also is that, say for instance, you want them to move out. You see things where the guys don't want to move out.
Right.
And here's the woman taking them to court, and that takes months to get them out. And that has to be a terrible feeling.
Yeah. And then if you have him living there, I mean, if you guys start having problems, what you gonna do? I mean, he's living there and he starts bringing other women in the house. Well, I mean, disrespecting your property, not cleaning up after himself, all those kind of things, and you can't do anything about it. That's why you got to have a rental agreement. So if he's a tenant, then you can go to the thing and do the formal eviction and bounces on his butt up on out of there with the sheriff's assistants. They'll come in and pack his stuff up and toss his butt out, and you change the locks and it's over. But you just, on the strength of, oh, that's my boyfriend. I love him though. Mm-mm. I don't even want clowns. You can't even spend a weekend at my house because you might get some ideas I'm not trying to be bothered with hearing. You can come for dinner and then you got to go. That's it. I'm serious. You laughing, but I am so serious. I just don't. You cannot stand here. I don't. I'll go to your house, but you can't come to mine. uh,
One of the things that in one of your advice columns that you wrote, it was different type of tests that men put women through. So could you talk a little bit about that?
oh, the hostess. Oh my God, I wrote that article so long ago. Yeah, women don't understand that. Dudes are constantly testing us. They'll throw stuff out there like even real common one is they want to do like a threesome. They want
Mm,
to do a threesome, or they want to do some other kind of freaky stuff with
mm,
that's not really what you want to do. And he's sitting there and he's looking at you. Now he's just throwing. Now he might want to do it, but that doesn't mean that he wants to do it with the woman that he loves. You see what I mean? There's a difference.
mhm,
So if you're the woman that he loves, he's looking for you to have a certain moral stance, a certain value system. If you're gonna
mhm,
be the mother of his children and he's gonna be walking around talking about this is my missus, there's different level of standards that he's gonna have for you that's going around his mama and stuff like that, that he might have for somebody who's, he just figures it's whatever. So I'm not saying it doesn't mean he doesn't want to do it, but should you consent to do it with him? And the answer to that question is no. Even if you want to, don't do it. Not with the man that you want to respect you and love you and commit to you like that. Men are weird like that. And like they'll ask you, even like on dates, they'll say stuff like, "Oh, how about you buy me a drink?" Right? That's a hotess. It's like
You
I don't
mean
buy.
like say me, the woman, have to buy? He's asking me to buy him a
Yeah,
drink.
you just met him, right? And so then the guy walks up to you, you at the bar or something with your girls or whatever, and he's hollering at you, and he says to you, "How about you buy me a drink?" That is the first hoe test. What is he doing by that? He's trying to see why are you laughing so hard? It's like he's trying to figure out how desperate you are for male attention.
God, no, I
No, they
can't.
just have all kind of tricks. But this is how they feel you out. Or they'll be calling you, it's late at night, right? Now, dude don't even necessarily know where you live. Hey, I'm in your neighborhood. Can I roll by? It's like 11 o'clock. Excuse you? What? What are you talking about? So many women say, oh, sure. Okay, booty call. You just consented to that. So, I mean, are they good on the phone? You talking to him on the phone, doing the talking to phase? And he started talking about what kind of underwear you wear, what kind of positions you like, all this kind of stuff. Hotess. All of those are hotess.
Oh, well, uh,
Yeah. And then it goes on from there, this never ending.
mm, it's
Well, I'm
like,
glad you're so amused.
I mean, it's just I just cannot envision um doing that. I cannot envision taking my money and doing that. And I think people think that because I'm an older woman and maybe they figure that, I'm desperate, so I'm going to give them my money. I'm like, I don't have much money, but what I do have, I just cannot envision just handing my money. Sometimes I try to visualize it. Let me hand you my money. I just can't do it.
Yeah, not doing that. But I just want to say because a lot of women feel like, well, it's the okay. They used to be like it's the '90s. What is it now? It's the 20 whatever, 2020s, and I can buy a man a drink. No, you can when it's your man.
Yeah,
There's a
yeah,
difference.
yeah,
You got some rando walking up to you trying to get you to buy him a drink. I'm not saying you should ask me to buy you one either. But I mean, we just talking about the whole test part. When the
yeah,
men, they know their role. They know they're not supposed to be doing that. But if they can get a women to buy them drinks and stuff and pick him up in her car and drive him around like he's behind his Miss Daisy and all that kind of stuff, I'm not doing nothing. You can't get there on your own. You better get you a skateboard or bicycle or something. Something. I'm not driving. I don't. Gas is $5 or something a gallon.
yeah. It's going up.
No.
It's going up. Okay, I want to ask you, is it a good idea to date someone or become involved with a man that's going through a divorce or separated?
I would say no, unless he has been separated for like I don't know 20 years. The answer to that question is no. Um, Men seem to take longer. Like for women, generally, by the time a woman wants a divorce, she's already gone through the emotional purging process while she tried to get him to talk to her, to go to therapy, you know, spend time together. She's done the steps and he pushed her away time after time, it's situation after situation for months or sometimes even years. So by the time she decides, well, I've had enough, I'm ready to get a divorce, she's done all that emotional separating, and she's ready to move on. Guys don't do that. The day that you tell them you want a divorce and you do it, that's the day that they start dealing with their emotional upheaval because they're like, well, what do you mean? I thought we were happy. No, you were happy. I was miserable. That's why I'm out and you just deal with it. So that's when they start. So you meet a guy who's just going through a separation. He's still in that shock phase of, I can't believe that she doesn't want me anymore. I can't believe it's over. So he might want your comfort and companionship, and of course some nook nook, But does that mean he's going to be emotionally available? The answer to that question is no. So, I mean, you just want to have a good time and you don't really care. I mean, there's women like that too. But if you're trying to
Or
have a partner, that's going to be emotionally invested, that's not a good bet.
okay. Why do women, or why do some women allow themselves to be the side chick?
Well, there's two camps to that. One is the camp that, is naive and doesn't really know what to look for to see that they're the side chick. They don't understand. So they don't know. They
Mhm,
honestly are in the dark. And then there are those that do know and don't care.
mhm,
They don't care because they're getting what they know want out of the deal. An example, I met this girl when I was in college, and she was in grad school, and she was messing around with this guy who's married. And I don't know what kind of position he had, but he had just like ridiculous amounts of money. So he bought her a car and he put her in a place and he used to pay the rent on the place. And, he would give her money. And so, I mean, he helped pay her tuition and, buy her books and stuff like that. So she didn't have to have a job. He basically supported her while she was in grad school. Well, in
mhm,
her case, it was a mutual exchange of, I mean, she got something, she got what she wanted, and he got what he wanted. So it was kind of an agreement there. So that's the kind, like I said, that knows, and they're making a choice. They don't care.
mhm,
And
mhm,
then on the other hand, then there's some wives too, who the same situation. They don't know, but there's those that do know and don't care because they're just like the girl in my grad school class. Um, they're getting their needs met. They feel like they couldn't live where they live, or their kids couldn't go to the private schools and go to European vacations and stuff like that if they get a divorce. So it's better to stay there, let him do whatever the hell he wants to do, and they still get to keep the lifestyle and the money and the credit cards and everything that they have. So like I said, there's just two ways to look at it. The women who don't know and the women who do and don't care.
mhm. Um, what what about like some people want to date the ex-boyfriend of a friend?
Ew.
Some people do. And you know what I was thinking too? I said, well, if people are friends, they have something in common. And so is it that unusual? Is it that
Well,
unusual to like the same guy? And if one person doesn't want him, then
I
the
have
friend
never
does.
liked the same dude that any of my family or friends have liked. It just has not happened. I mean, I
Mhm,
generally look at those people and be like, "What in the world do you see in this clown?" I don't get it. So, I mean, for me, from my personal perspective, it's really hard for me to understand that mentality. But you're right. I mean, sometimes if people are really good friends, they might have some, similar tastes. Um, but does that mean that that's a boundary that you should cross, like dating your friend's ex-husband or your friend's ex-boyfriend?
I think so. Oh my God.
Girl, that is just yuck to me. I don't want your leftovers. And I mean, if you want mine, that's on you. But I don't, no. And then to think about the dude, I mean, what kind of person are you? You just gonna go in this little circle from friend to friend or sister to sister and auntie to niece and I mean, what are you doing? There's no other women in this world that you could go out with. You got to go in this little small circle. So I mean, for me, he's trash for doing that, and she's trash for doing that. And so I guess two trashy people can be together. I don't know. It's not anything I would do, and I definitely would not advise anybody do that.
Okay.
There's too many
The
other people in this world, girl.
I think so too. Um, the last thing I want to ask you, what are some of the things people do or pitfalls when they let loneliness lead them in a certain direction that may not be for their highest good?
The two things that I've noticed is that they tend to drop their boundaries and their
Mhm,
standards.
mhm,
The standards because, say I want to go out with a guy that's a certain kind of guy. Like say, I want to date a guy who's a non-smoker.
Hmm.
You know, I don't want anybody who uses any kind of herbs or anything like that. And then next thing you know, they have this boyfriend that's blazing up all the time. You know, and they feel like we got at least have somebody now. Or the boundaries is that they let the guy hit them, cheat on them, and they stay with them. Different things like that because they're afraid of going back to being by themselves. So those are the two things that I've noticed. I'm sure there's probably dozens of other reasons too, but those are the two I think are the most common.
Hmm. Okay. Well, thank you, Miss Deborah Cooper. I know you said I could call you Deb, but I have so much respect for you. It's just hard for me to just come out my mouth with that. But
Oh,
thank you so much for coming on today.
well, I always enjoy talking to you, Yvonne.
Staying here.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, I hope your
Thank
listeners enjoy our chat, and we will talk again soon.
Yes. Goodbye, everyone. Thank you for joining us today. Thank you.
Bye bye.
Bye bye.